Good morning, everybody. I just got a new Megan's Plant Boutique outfit, so I'm really excited about it. I did miss an opportunity here because I forgot to print on the bag. What you gonna do? But my hair kind of covers that spot anyway, so I guess it's fine. But anyway, let's get started. I forgot to play our motivational speech, so let me get that started. This is impact theory. This is called Get Mentally Tough, Achieve Your Goals, and Do the Impossible by Doing This Trick. This is James Lawrence. Let's go.
Say hi to Grandma.
Listen to it, show me
Not what
an
you
ad
expected?
first. 2
You're still winning
seconds.
when you wake up with Thomas's.
Here we go.
Say hi to Grandma.
Not what you expected?
2,
You're still winning
1.
when you wake up with Thomas's.
Okay, I guess it just wants to play this ad over and
Say
over
hi to
again.
Grandma.
Let's see if I
Not
can
what
get
you
it to skip
expected?
this.
You're still
Sorry,
winning
guys.
when you wake up with Thomas's.
Oh my lord. Here we go.
99.76% of my shots. I the number one player in the entire league. I'd have $100 million contract
Of all time.
ever. If I was in the NFL and I a QB and I nailed 99.76% of my throws, I'd be the best player ever. Why am I being so hard on myself? Nobody had done what we've done. We've moved the bar so much. And I don't know if it was I wanted to prove to myself who I know I am, or if part of me was like, I want to show that less than 1% of the people that have this opinion, that I am who I said I was and who I am. And then the pandemic hit, and I had gotten out of shape. I had been traveling 9 months out of the year. I'd been on stages and coaching and presenting and helping people have hope and get out of their own way and achieve their dreams. Because I'd achieved mine. I've got my dream home. I've got my family. I've got stability. I've got whatever I want now. And I built it all. And the pandemic hit, and overnight, literally overnight, speaking goes away, coaching goes away, racing goes away. And I didn't know it at the time, but I had an entire year plus zero work, no income. I get to focus on me. I get to be with my family. And everybody experienced the COVID shutdown in different ways. It blessed my life. It was an opportunity for me to go, there's one more. Because the whole time, 6 years post 50, I always said, and I'd always wanted, I can do that better. I got asked all the time, if you could do it again, would you? And I said, I wouldn't do it again, but I'd do it the first time. And they said, would you change anything? And I always said, no, because I'm the person I am today because of what I learned on that journey. I love the mistakes we made. And like I said, we'd never had it. We put it in the book. It's in Redefine Impossible. It's in the documentary. We highlighted all of these struggles and mistakes that we made because it was part of our journey.
Did you see that light
There
flash?
was no roadmap for this. And so I started thinking, I said, okay, I'm not perfect. I'm a human being. I'm not perfect.
Oh, thank you.
But I can try and strive for excellence in anything I do. And I looked back on the 50 and I said, what was the 50? The 50 represented to me chaos, logistics, fatigue. And I said, okay, if the 50 was what we did was dubbed redefining impossible, if I remove chaos, if I remove confusion, if I put systems and team in place, if I control my surroundings, can I double what people thought was impossible? Because what I initially set out to do on the 50 was how many consecutive full distance tries can the mind and the body do? I didn't find that out because logistics and chaos got in the way. We had no money, we bootstrapped it, and we were relying on the general public to be there when they said they would be there in each state as a volunteer. We were at the mercy of everybody, and we had, the wingman, you've seen them, and they're crazy, and the mistakes they made, and he hit a deer in the middle of the night, no fault of his own. He was exhausted, but that took out our generator. We couldn't carry food, all these things. So the 50 was chaos and confusion and logistics. And I said, if I can remove those, control those, put team and systems in place, financially we're in a different spot. If we did this all in a remote location, can I achieve my goal of finding out what the mind and body can do as far as consecutives is concerned? And that's where we landed on 100 in Utah, because the pandemic wiped my calendar out, and I said, I've got possibly a year to get ready physically and mentally, to draw from my past experience, and to see if that's possible. And on March 1st, 2021, we set out on a journey to see if that was possible and do 100 consecutive. Now there's different ways to frame that goal. Because you can say the word 100 consecutive or 100 consecutive days, and it's hard to conceptualize that or figure out what that is. It's a quarter of a year. So now take the iron distance, it's 140.6 miles. Well, if you just say 146 miles a day, it's hard to conceptualize too, so it's 14,060 miles over 14 weeks, which is 140 miles a day. And we set out on a journey, and again, you wouldn't do something if you knew how damn hard it was going to be, and you wouldn't do something if you had all the answers and you don't start as the expert. And so we set out on a journey on March 1st, and the rest is history. And I am so proud of myself. I'm so proud of our team. And we left no doubt. We left no doubt to who we said we were and the criticism. We silenced everybody, and I challenge anybody to find a flaw or an asterisk to what we did.
Hey guys, I hope you've joined the Impact Theory Discord, which, if you were unfamiliar with Discord, it is basically a more fun Slack. But if you need another reason to join, here is the ultimate one. On October 13th, we are going to be dropping our most valuable product yet, maybe the most valuable product that we will ever offer in the form of an NFT. This yet-to-be-revealed NFT token will give you unparalleled access to everything I am working on. Special discounts, free access, exclusive access, and much, much more. If all of that was exciting to you and you want to learn more, click the link below to join our Discord community and follow the steps to read my article, The Beginner's Guide to Crypto and NFTs. Reading that and joining the Discord community will make sure you are ready for October 13th. So funny that 0.24 would, and look, it would fuck with me as well, so I completely get it. But on the outside looking at you, I'm like, really? Yeah. Like, you let that fuck with you? It's so crazy. Like, the story alone of, like, the first or second night where you have to fly coach with 5 kids after waking up and not even sleeping, running a triathlon, then flying to the next day with 5 kids in coach and do the next one. I was like, come on, Meow, like, at what point did we say, like, this is so fucking absurd? In fact, if you want to complain about that, you go do the fucking 50-50-50, and then you can complain. But it would fuck with me too. That's the weird thing. Like, and I can imagine.
That's what makes you special, though.
Does it, or are we just wired like that? Like, what I think makes me special is I'd find a way to the other side of that. Whether it was doing what you did and finding some even fucking more just absurd thing and like going, okay, this time there's not going to be an asterisk, as you called it. Because I think the human mind is just a certain way. And one of those things is we are a social creature, and it absolutely matters what other people think, and it matters what we think, and it's this weird confluence of all the things. So it didn't bother you until you got the echo back from people that, oh, this is an asterisk. But once it got in your head, then it's all over. Because now it's like you can't escape it.
Well, because if you remember in our first interview, I said at some point in time, I didn't care what people thought, and I wasn't trying to prove them wrong, I was trying to prove myself right. And I said that's a very different energy. And I don't know when that shifted, because I still believe that. I believe I'm successful in what I do because I don't care what people think. I'm not comparing myself against somebody else's standard of excellence. If I did, I would have been satisfied with 10 in a row, right? And so why push that envelope? But I think it's because I know that there's more. I know that wasn't acceptable. And deep down, I believe I'm a person of integrity, and my word is my bond. And for some reason, I'll be honest, 100 was for me. 1,000%. It was for me. Because that question was posed to me, it did bring up the conversation, that internal dialogue was, well, did that 0.24% matter? If you said you were going to do that, did you do it? And I said, yes. And then you just have that whole conversation. Well, are you rationalizing it? Did you actually do it? Are you right? Do you give them any power? And so it's that entire conversation with that tiniest bully that we give so much power to. And I wouldn't have said this before, but I am so glad I gave that little voice a little bit of power, because it brought out the best in me. It brought out a different beast that came out and literally doubled what everybody thought was impossible. I call it, we defied logic. It was so, I don't even know what the word is, unlogical for what we set out to accomplish. And again, full circle, my perception and perspective was different based on the experience that I had learned and how I evolved through that process. When I woke up and I presented the thing to Sunny and said, I want to tackle 100 consecutive. Her hesitation wasn't, it's possible or not possible. It's, how is this going to disrupt my life and our kids' lives? And how do I balance and framework that? even her perception has changed. Like, no question in her mind. Literally, the question wasn't, is it possible? Can we do it? It was like, okay, how are we going to fit this into our kids' life? Because we're 6 years removed from the 50. Our kids were 6 to 12. Now they're 12 to 18. Now they're very busy. They have their own lives. They're looking at colleges. They're looking at high school friends, jobs. You can't displace your family, and so you have to framework how's this going to work with 7 of you. And that's a different conversation, and it's crazy because her perception was the same as mine. Yeah, that's totally possible based on what we've done. Now our preparation needs to match that goal and get it done.
Let's talk about criticism and people that throw shade. How did you, so it brought out the best in you ultimately, but how did that conversation go? How did you begin to switch it? And then as you were doing this, was there ever a time, because I'm a big believer in what I'll call the dark side, and I mean that in a Star Wars way, where it's like, nature only gave you pleasure and pain. And so why people don't leverage the anger, the rage, that side of the equation, to me is a mystery. I don't understand it. So I think they're both useful. I think you have to be very careful how much time you spend in the dark energy, because it's very corrosive, and over time it ends up destroying you and not, the other person. But it gives you some pretty powerful impetus, for sure. Was there any of that, like, you're going through the 100, you're fucking tired. I mean, you were running on a stress fracture through some massive percentage of this. So are you saying to yourself, there's going to be no fucking asterisks on this? Like, I'm going all the way?
Yeah, absolutely. What I learned from the 50 was what you say you're going to do is the expectation, and if you deviate from that, it gives them permission to then attack you. So on our website, we said, these are the rules of the 100. If we deviate from these, come at me full force. I deserve it. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned is you have to set up the standard and the expectation. And then once I set out those parameters, there was zero deviating from it. And I learned, if I do, they will come at me. And I was so driven to not give anybody an ounce of power or ammunition to come at me with anything. And so it was, every situation I was in was, go back to, this is a great lesson for anybody in life. And before you go on any journey, whatever you're doing, figure out your ethos, what you truly stand for. Then every decision after that becomes easy. Should I do this? Does it align with my core values? Black and white, yes or no decision making. Once you set out the parameters for the 100, what that looks like, that's your ethos for this project. Then you go back, you're in a decision, should we do this or that? Go back to the ethos, black or white, easy question, easy answer. And so once we wrote out the parameters, made it public, that's what it was. And it was everything outside. Day number 1, 18 degrees outside. Whoa! 18 degrees, try riding your bike in 18 degrees when that happens. It's very, very cold. I made a colossal mistake in planning the 100. I looked at the average temperature for March in Utah. I'm like, oh, 50s and 60s. I can do that. That's the high. Never on one day of the 100 was I on my bike during the high of the day. It was on there at 7 in the morning. Day number 1, 18 degrees. And so we were immediately up against it as far as like your ethos, because that would push anybody inside. We biked through snow. We biked through sleet. We biked through hail. Like there was a moment, and it was so amazing the way the cycling community came out. But there was one day it was so cold, we called it the snow day, and we stopped several times to either refuel, and we went into a gas station, and one of the guys went to take his gloves off, bite it to get the glove off, and nearly bit through his finger because it was so cold, and he didn't realize he was actually biting into his finger. Whoa! That's how cold it was, and we were all that cold. But it was just a quick stop, and he was trying to take his glove off so he could, refill his water bottle to get back out on the road. But those are the conditions that we started at, and it's an immediate gut check. The first week of the journey, realizing, hey, I'm on day 10. I've got 90 more of these. Where am I at? And you mentioned that stress fracture that I had in my shin. It started with an undisclosed ankle injury that I went into it with that I didn't want to tell anybody about. And it quickly exploded up my leg. Because when you're in training for something like this, you have to minimize the damage. You don't want to overtrain, and you don't want to hurt yourself before you start. And so there's an obvious immediate ramp of volume. That's unavoidable. And your body has to go through the adaptation phase of doing that. Well, my body didn't handle it. I turned 45 in the middle of this journey. I'm older. And I developed a stress fracture. And it got to the point where it felt like I knew my leg was going to break. And I had to manage the pain in every step I was taking on the marathon. I was like, this next step, my leg's going to break. This next step, my leg's going to break. And I'd manage the pain, and I'd black out. I'd pass out, and Casey was there, one of the wingmen. He did all the runs with me. He'd catch me, and within 5 seconds, I'd come back to. And we'd do a little countdown, and we made a shirt that says, "Here we go." Because that's what we'd say. We'd audibly say it out loud, "Here we go," and we'd get moving again, and I'd manage it, black out, catch me. And he said, "You know, you're blacking out those entire last 6 miles." And I said, "I know." But it's what we had to do, because the question I had to ask myself was, is the next step going to kill me? That's one of my major ethos. One of my major mantras is the next step going to kill me? And it was about day 15. I was at the peak of the shin problem. Literally thought like my leg was going to break. Didn't know what to do. I was at the completion of the day. And I looked at Sunny, and we were back at my house, and I said, I don't think I can manage that level of pain for 85 more days. And she gave me some of the best advice that I've ever had in my entire career. And she said, the work is done today. The work is done. Allow the team to do their job. We had a great PT massage therapist team there. Allow the team to do their job. Go to bed. Wake up tomorrow, because we have no idea what tomorrow's going to look like. And then let's face tomorrow as it comes. Because mentally, I could not conceptualize that level of pain management for 85 more days. We were so early in the journey. And my 45-year-old body was broken. If the 50 was chaos, exhaustion, and logistics, the 100 was injury, pain, and longevity. Those would be the two parallels between the two, or contrasts. And that to me became the campaign motto was take every day as it is today, because we have no idea what tomorrow's going to look like. Because what we've learned on my journey is my body is our bodies, the human body, is an amazing tool if you give it the resources it needs to recover, perform, whatever it takes. Same with the mind. And my body could go from great to bad in a 24-hour period, and they can go from bad to great in a 24-hour period. We had no idea. When you deal with what you have when it's given to you. So on day 15, when she gave me that advice, that kind of became the theme for the rest of the journey. Was like, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And if you quit now, you're never going to find out. And that will be the most tragic thing you do on your journey, to not know what tomorrow brings. And so every single day, we would fight till we got to the point where it was like, you've done the work today. Now, trust your team to take care of you, because tomorrow could be completely different.
What are your tactics for pain management? That's extraordinary, to be able to manage the pain to the point where you pass out.
Sucks.
So what do you do?
I saw footage that I don't understand, because I'm completely blank. I saw footage where I developed a rhythmic pattern with my hands, that I'd move them in a certain way to either distract myself, and I didn't know I was doing it. And I would take myself somewhere else. And I think over time, with dealing with pain, you develop techniques, and everybody's going to be different. I didn't have that technique in 2012 when I broke the world record for official events around the world. I didn't have that technique. I didn't experience that level of pain. I experienced exhaustion and difficulty, but not that level of pain. And as I progressed through my career with crashes and continuing to push the mind and the body, I developed personal techniques that have helped me. And I